Marketing. This is Leilani Haywood, Social Media Manager, and I am visiting with Colene Rogers. She is the author of Retention: Key Mindsets to Retain Top Talent, which I think we need more than ever right now, especially, if you're an employer or like even if you're an employee, you can read this book to see how employers think. And I think like, especially during these times of, COVID-19, the lockdown and what we're seeing in the job market, this book is more important than ever. Colene Rogers, AKA the Talent Keeper, is a 20-year human resources professional and the president and CEO of Colene Rogers and Associates, a boutique consulting firm that provides solutions for organizations to help them attract and retain their most appreciable asset, their people, right? If you don't have the right talent, if you don't have the right employees, the right people, you can't move your company forward. And so whether she is giving a keynote, conducting a workshop, developing a group of leaders, or coaching individuals, it is all done to aid and inspire organizations of people to be their very best. Every day she is helping real companies and individuals address issues that stand between them and their highest aspirations. And so this daily activity keeps her content fresh and current as she teaches proven principles of leadership and organizational success. And so want you to meet Colene Rogers behind the book, Retention: Key Mindset to Retain Top Talent. And so, Colene, if you could just tell us about yourself and why you wrote the book.
Sure. So it's been 20 plus years in HR, but after a while you're like, nah, maybe I don't want to count anymore, but it's been a long time. So I really focused my career on finding talent and then how do we keep them. And so many years in we call it talent acquisition market inside of companies, an inside recruiter. And I became really attached to these people, right? I'm making promises to them. I recruited through LinkedIn. It wasn't just waiting for talent to come. I went to go find them. So there's another level of attachment to them. And so after bringing them in, and then sometimes I would watch them leave after 3 months when I spent months longer than that finding them, maybe an engineer with a particular software knowledge that nobody else had. I really started studying why are they leaving. And so study after study tells us that the number one reason people leave their job is their supervisor. Number two would be the culture, the coworker. And so we often, and it's not always the supervisor's fault, we move people into a leadership position, managing other people because they're good individual contributors, and yet we don't prepare them or set them up for success. So there's definitely a difference in managing a task and managing or leading people. And so after all these years of asking, why are you leaving, doing exit interviews, studying it, and obviously as a HR professional, we have certifications that we have to do and just really studying it. I'm like, I want to help my clients find the right people, be the company that people never want to leave, because turnover is costing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So the clients I work with, I go in, I do the turnover calculator that I designed. It's a 75 line item Excel spreadsheet, and we do it one position. Usually we start with the highest turnover position and we plug in the numbers. I do it with the HR person, the CFO, and just recently, 2 of my clients, up to quarters 1, 2, and 3, one was over $400,000 in turnover cost, the other $650,000 in turnover cost. And so those are not made up manufactured numbers. Society of Human Resource Management says it'll take between 6 and 9 months of that person's salary to replace them. I just get very specific. I don't like general. Let's go with every position and then let's figure out what we can do to keep that talent and keep that money inside the organization. So I probably answered a lot there for you. I'm sure you have some questions about that, Leilani.
So, I mean, it saves the company money to not have to go through that process. And so it sounds like there needs to be a mindset for the supervisor, because like you're saying, they're promoting, highly skilled individuals who don't have the mindset or the training to supervise.
Right.
And so what would you say is like the main mindset that they need to have?
That they are there to, of course, lead by example, but in some of the companies I work with, and companies are all different, right? It's like personality. So there's a personality of every company I go and work with. And so I try to learn the personality. And so I want to coach, because I coach leaders. So I'll explain kind of the whole process I do going in, and that'll make a little more sense. But I coach leaders to coach their employees. We're there to look at the whole person. How do we help that person to succeed? And that's really important. That individual, you say you're the supervisor, Leilani, they want to know you care about them and you can help them, that you're on their side. And so there needs to be that personal relationship. That's how our people are going to take on the ownership of the company, if they know that someone has their back and they have somewhere to go. So the number one thing I say with supervisors is start building relationship and be the coach that person needs. So it's no longer go do that because I said so. Hey, this is, and let them be a part of the decision making of what the process is. Because I have a saying that I created a long time ago. I led volunteers within church ministry. I was the drama director by nighttime and the HR manager by day. So I have a big joke that I was drama night and day. So we had 100 employees in this larger church. Then I actually worked with 100 volunteers at night building sets. And so I came up with this saying that people don't criticize what they create. So what does that mean? That means let me be a part of creating what we're going to do. To a certain point, obviously, CEOs across the world cannot bring in everybody and have a meeting or nothing will get done. Right, but in the individual department, let them create, let them have buy-in for the solutions. You'd be surprised. You'll learn a lot if you ask the people doing the work, what are some of the solutions for a better outcome. So that's the number one thing I work with supervisors. And what is it that they want? What is it that people want? And there's a great book by Marshall Goldsmith, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And it identifies 20 things that people do when they get to a certain level that they have a blind side to. They don't realize that what they're doing is holding them back from going to the next level. So I coach leaders and organizations because we all have a blind side where there's something we can work on and we need someone to be honest with us. And it's difficult inside of an organization to do that. So a lot of HR people are handcuffed because they're busy doing many, many different things. And so they will hire me to come in and coach their people.
What is the main blind side that you've seen?
I would say that sometimes people think they know it, especially if they've been know-it-all. Right. They've been there a long time. This is the way we've always done it. That's not going to work. We've tried that, and they're not open to new solutions. And so new generation coming in, they want to have a say-so. They want to talk about it. They want to say, hey, can we try that? And we should listen because they're full of technology that we don't even know about, so there's certain parameters, right? I'm still the boss, but let me hear from you and then I'll make the final decision. So not willing to try something new, or I just know it because I've been here for a long time.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So is the book just written for supervisors, CEOs? Who did you have in mind when you were writing the book?
So because I'm an HR professional, I speak, so my business has a couple different parts of it. I do speak around the nation a lot to HR groups, state conferences, because most states have a SHRM, Society of Human Resource Management, state council, and they put on state conferences. So I speak there. And then I speak to HR associations coming in, doing a keynote for one of their conferences or doing a workshop. So they're one of my biggest sources of clients because they know they need outside help to change the culture of the organization. And then I also speak to CEO groups directly because they are the decision makers, and then small business. A lot of my clients are family-owned businesses. Okay. And so they've succeeded, they've done well in a product, but they don't know how to take their company to the next level, how to get all those HR practices in place. Maybe they can't afford an HR manager full-time, so I'll consult them, or I'll help them hire a more junior level HR person and coach that person who's in the inside. So those are the two clients I seem to gravitate to the most. Small to medium-sized companies where I can make a large impact.
So what would your advice be to supervisors or human resources professionals right now during this pandemic, on how they can do a better job of retaining employees or helping them through this, because there's been such a pivot, into people that are working at home. And what would your advice be to them?
So I do believe it's going to require more communication than ever, and it has, right? There's got to be more of these Zoom calls and checking in with people and listening to people, because everyone is struggling at some level or another. It's either the kids being home or, we're all here together in the house. They can't go to school. And so there's going to require more empathy on the part of the managers. Some people I hear they're getting more work done because there's not all of that wasted time that's going on in the office. So I do believe it's a communication, constant communication, but not micromanaging where they think you got the thumb on them and you're managing everything they're doing. Set goals. That's really important. I call it the who does what by when. Who's going to do it? When are they going to do it? And when can I hear? Whatever that follow-up means, but make sure you're setting realistic goals and holding them accountable, because we all need to be held accountable. So communication, realistic goals, follow-up, and back to my advice of buy-in. People don't criticize what they create. Ask people how you can best help them in that environment that they're in right now, working from home. It's really working for some people. I mean, I have a client who's actually not even going to renew their lease on their building.
Really?
Because people are working from home and it's working well. So that's a whole nother thing, right? How do we take this to a whole nother level? So it's just interesting watching, even though it's a pandemic and it's terrible and people have lost their lives, these kind of things do make us relook at the way we've always done, including my own business. I do more virtual presentations than going live, obviously. I haven't been on a plane since February. So it's all virtual, or they're postponed it to next year. So it's been interesting.
And I would think that it would open up even more opportunities, because then people are thinking, well, we don't have to cover travel, and this can go to more places, that it would just open up a lot more doors worldwide for you.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. If I can, I'll tell you, I'll kind of sum up the book.
Yes.
If you can. So I think that why do we write it and how do we use it? Well, we use it in training. So I mentioned I train leaders. So now I use it to train them. So inside of the book, we have what we call retention architecture. So there's 5 outcomes. It is to, back to the talent acquisition, find and hire the right talent, create trusted leaders. Everybody is trusted at the same level, but how does the employee see it? conflict resolution, and I'll tell you why that's in there, talent development, and HR practices that keep us out of court. So why those 5 things? Well, after the 20 plus years, this is what I've seen. We don't always hire the right people. We don't often train our supervisors to interview. And I do believe in panel interviews where it's the supervisor and HR and maybe the C-suite person or a team lead, because I think it's important to everyone to have a look at the person. So I find that we don't hire right. It's important that we hire right and that we explore where we're finding our talent. Every one of my clients are different, and generally they hire me because they have high turnover or they're hiring the wrong people or they need more people. There's just different reasons, but usually it's because we've got high turnover and it's costing us a lot of money. So I go in with retention architecture and help them fix it. So we find the right people. And then we work with the supervisors and we train them to be the best supervisor they can be. So this is usually a 6-month to 1-year process. I meet with them as a group. And then depending on my agreement with the organization, I'll do one-on-one coaching also. I'm a certified coach with John Maxwell. And so I got a great teacher in John Maxwell. I don't know if some of your listeners have heard of him, but he's been voted the world's guru, right? So I've been very fortunate to learn from John, and then he has a great coaching program. So I'm a certified coach. One of the things that I found in coaching people is that I spend a lot of time helping them resolve the conflict they have with not only their employees, but their peers. And then how do I talk to my boss? I'm afraid to talk to my boss about the unrealistic expectations. So I started reading a lot of books on conflict resolution because as an HR person, people will bring their problems to us. You know, I would deal with a supervisor, I would deal with the employee, and I would bring them in, we resolve it, but I can't be with all my clients. So how could I teach them some tool sets to help them resolve their own conflicts? So I started reading everything. I became a crucial conversations trainer. From that, I just kept reading. And now we have put together, and I say we, because my husband, Jim, works in the business with us. We've put together I call it a tough talk workshop. And I do it in every company I work with. And I want everybody in the company to do it because then everybody has the tools they need to have the conversations they're avoiding or they're blowing up. And so that's part of that retention architecture. And then the 4th part of retention architecture is talent development. Most everybody I talk to wants to know, now there's some people, and that's okay. Not everybody wants upward mobility, right? But in coaching, most people want to know where they can go and how quickly they can get there. And so I help them design their talent development program. And what does that look like in each company and the supervisors involved? And then one of the things we do is we use retention talks. And that is not a performance evaluation. It is a sit down supervisor and the employee and how's it going? What tools do you need? Where would you like to go? What training do you need? How am I doing as a supervisor? What do you need from me? So it's just a conversation, but we structure it. So it's not just haphazard. It's happening 2 to 4 times a year. And then of course, HR practices that keep us out of court and send our company into the future. Again, some of them don't have HR practitioners. I help them make sure that they're in compliance with law and all the fun things that HR people get to do, looking at handbooks and how do I fire or someone without getting a lawsuit. So those are things that you need to know for sure. So that's what we do. We go in and we implement retention architecture. So it's not a haphazard. I've thought about it and it takes us a year or so to do it.
And it's a very important process. And I noticed that at the end of every chapter are questions. So it can also be kind of used as, I guess there could be a study group or, you know, of supervisors that go through it. And so this is like crucial to laying the foundation for the next 10, 20 years. For that company is in setting its HR policies for its employees and direction for retaining top-notch talent. So, Yeah.
And when I get in there, Leilani, you know, other things will come up. I just had a meeting with a C-suite, and in particular, it was a CEO and the vice president, and we were talking about different issues. And I had to encourage them to let go of a tenure employee who was negative, to say the very least, you know.
Really?
So really a toxic environment would lose this cool. And so that's very hard, you know, but I've done it for a long time. I know you can find somebody else, and that what's happening inside of that company is so important. The culture is so important to the retention. And again, I do the numbers because I know what the C-suite want. They want to know the number side of it. And so when we know how much it's costing us, then we're motivated to turn things up a little bit, you know, and then help them with the people part of it. A CEO recently told me, it's the people. And I go, it's always about the people. You need the right people in the right place, right? Because we're not AI, and I don't think we'll ever be AI. There's going to be people running that, right? So it's about people. And understanding people and letting them share with you and getting to know them. That's what we all want. We want significant relationships. That's what I'm trying to teach supervisors to do.
Awesome. So what responses have you received so far from your book?
It's been great. We are blown away, by the way. I mean, every
Wonderful.
time. So we're like, wow. I mean, even you speak. I know you work with Higher Life, and David is our publisher, and we told him how many copies we've sold, and because he doesn't know how many orders we're making, and he was blown away. So what happens a lot of times is these state conferences will buy books for everybody. So that's huge. I'm speaking to people with 200, 300, 400, 500 people in the audience. So they're buying the book for everybody, which is great, because then when I go to speak, then they have something to take with them. So HR professionals want help. You know, even if you've been doing it for a long time, you're open to, how do I resolve the issues I got? And they want a plan. Nobody wants just a 30-minute talk on, oh yeah, you got that problem. They want a solution. And so that's why we wrote the book. And to your point, we use it in training. That's why we have those questions at later today. I have a virtual training inside of a company with 15 leaders. They read the chapter, we talk about it. I give them simple assignments. We call that a leadership mastermind. It's one of the tools that we use. And obviously virtual is in, so it's making our life easier. So yeah, it's wonderful. Once a week, and sometimes we do every other week, but it's a really easy way, and they get to talk, because now they're not all getting to see each other. So
right. Wonderful. Well, to get a hold of Colene Rogers, colenerogers.com.
Yeah, that's right. It's spelled a little different, but yes, it's Colene. Yeah, so colenerogers.com. We would love to hear from you. Any comments that you have about the book, we would love to hear, or just any questions. I mean, we're open. I love what I do, and so it's not a burden. I enjoy speaking to people.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today. And that sounds phenomenal, the group that you have coming up.
It's fun.
Leadership mastermind. So yes, go get Colene's book her to speak, or to do masterminds with your company, your organization. Reach out to her. So thanks, Colene.
Thank you so much for your time. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.